Must have been a VIP, for the second line is wild. The CBD, Bourbon Street, the Claiborne and Ursuline. You can join on any corner, enjoy it as it passes. It's the second line on Monday, and boy, the crowd is fast.
Hey there, everybody. Rob Bechtold here, bringing you another NOLA food podcast. This is our third one. Today we have Bernie Jolet on the show from Mamita's Hot Tamales. He's doing some good work around the city. He's another small businessman trying to get his name out there, and we're going to help him out. If you're interested in NOLA Smokehouse at all, go to nolasmokehouse.com. That has all our information there. I also added a NOLA Food Podcast page there, which has our YouTube, our iTunes, and our RS feed. So you can subscribe to us, and I hope you do. It's only going to get better with your help, and we have a little donations box there if you feel so inclined. I'd appreciate it. We're trying to get some good microphones and stuff like that to bring you some better audio quality. This is totally volunteer. We volunteer it, and our guests are volunteer, and everything that we're doing is just to bring you some great food talk and some good content, and we're having a blast. I hope you're having a blast too. So here we go with Bernie Jolet from Mamita's Hot Tamales. Bernie is a St. Bernard brother of mine. Grew up in Araby, right?
That's correct.
And I grew up for the main part in Chalmette, so we were definitely cousins in the parish sense. You went to Chalmette High School?
I went to Chalmette, graduated in '86. Took a little hiatus, and then went to UNO many years later, and got a degree in hotel restaurant tourism. And that's really where I got the whole passion for food, was back in Araby and growing up as a youngster, going to my grandparents' restaurant in the city.
Were you working at restaurants and stuff during your college years, or?
That was kind of part of it went part and parcel with going to HRT. You got to meet a bunch of people. I got into the LRA, the UNO division, and you went to the meetings and you got to meet some chefs, really cool guys. I would say, hey.
Internship? Or
not even an internship, kind of like a stage. Just you show up, see if you like it. If you do, you can work. Personally, I worked my tail off during the summers. You know, even though I was taking summer classes, I was going during the summer just because they were slow. They needed, one extra guy, and that was me. And I'd go in, work a few hours. We don't need you. You can go. And that was fun. Getting my feet wet, just to make sure that was what I wanted to do, because back in those days, before that, I was working at a shipyard, so I had to get back into a kitchen to see, hey, do I really want to do this? Is this something I want to do? And it was. So. Did
you have any experience in the kitchen before that? You know how to hold a knife when you got a job? Just growing up and
being the youngest grandchild, and the restaurant being closed after, once I was about 8. My grandparents had their house in Araby, and that's all they did was, my grandmother, that's all she knew how to do was cook and clean. That's how she grew up.
And this is Mama Mita, right?
This is my grandma, who we called Mamita, but her name was Rosa. But if you met her once, you either called her Miss Rosie or you called her Mamita, either way. Right. When being one of the youngest grandchildren, I'd bug her when we were in the kitchen. So instead of her pushing me away and saying, get away from me, she'd give me a job to do, so that way I'd leave her alone in another way, which I'd also be helping. So I was big enough when
kind of like a prep baby.
Right, exactly. When I was big enough and like 8, 9 years old, she'd put a knife in my hand and said, cut this onion. Didn't tell me how to, just said cut it.
Figure it
out. And I cut my onion a whole lot different than she did, but by the time I was 11 or 12, I was in there. So I had kitchen experience there where I loved it, and that's why I had to get back into a working kitchen. That the person that's at the helm of the ship, he doesn't necessarily love you.
Yeah,
in fact, he might hate your guts.
Right, and he wants that onion cut a specific way, and he doesn't want you to be creative.
Right, and he's going to give it back to you if it's not, and he gets creative in the way he sends it back to you.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure. But that's why I got the beginning of my restaurant career in college and figured out that I liked it. So got into it and started doing the thing, and I worked at Gabrielle's. I worked at a place called Cafe Ola. That was a little place on Carrollton. Vega Tapas Cafe. I worked there.
With Susan Vega?
No, with Allison Vega.
Allison Vega.
And then I worked at let's see. I was probably going out to Kenner and worked for Taqueros after that.
Wow.
And I worked for Giacomo's while I was in college, and that didn't work out well.
No. That is
it's a lot of hours, especially if you're in college. That's a lot of hours to be working and having to go to class in the morning.
Well, just walking through that kitchen, that is not an easy line. Those guys hump. And you got a specific job, and you're putting out 2 or 3 dishes, and but you're putting out hundreds of.
I worked right next to Austin Leslie for a summer.
Right.
And boy, did I learn
the mustache.
Stuff. Oh boy, did I learn some stuff, man.
Probably more than you wanted to.
Oh yeah. I learned some good, some bad. Learned some life lessons.
Sure. That's the love, and that's the kind of commitment that I think that New Orleans food brings out of people. People like you that came up and were on your grandma's knee and kind of came up through food and had those memories, right. and taking that and making a profession out of it. I think that New Orleans and other culinary meccas, New York, San Francisco, California, are places that are really deeply rooted into that. Chicago, that it's really easy to do something like that. In the other parts of the world, not so easy. When I was in Florida, not a real culinary mecca. I spent some time in Vermont, not a culinary mecca. You couldn't have a podcast or independent chefs like we do that pop up on Twitter and Facebook and have the support that we have, which is awesome.
A Michelin star restaurant and actually survive in places like that because they don't know any better.
Right.
They know what they know.
Yeah. And they want the same old thing, right. And they want what they
want the Red Lobster, they want the Applebee's, they want the Quick and
the Olive Garden.
Yeah. Exactly. That's for sure.
Do y'all, when y'all are popping up around the city, do y'all do, y'all at 45 Chop?
Right. We do 45 Chop most Tuesday nights. We do.
And they do different food pop-ups throughout the week,
Monday night, I think they have
I've heard of those.
Foodie Call.
Oh, okay.
Foodie Call on Monday. Me on Tuesday. Taco Loco on Wednesday.
That's the one I was hearing.
Possibly La Cocinita on Thursday, and then they'll have I saw posted that she had Houdat burger or some kind of burger.
So do they have a kitchen in 45 Chop?
No, it's food trucks that pull up.
So that's awesome, right?
They put cones right by the front door, so you walk into the bar and that food truck is sitting right there.
That's
all night, and you can go in and out. It's like having a restaurant attached to you.
And they don't have to pay for food. They don't have to supply
all they need to do is send a text message and say, "Are you coming?"
Right.
Yes or no. No, then they'll find somebody else.
See, that's
because there's people waiting.
Yeah.
They don't have a whole lot of nights open. But if anybody out there has a food truck and they want to kind of get their feet wet, go to 45 Chop and talk to Debbie or talk to Christian or Shannon, and they'll try to slide you in there.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of bars doing that. We pop up at the Avenue Pub. The Rusty Nail also has a lot of pop-ups. A guy that we're going to be doing a podcast with, Hoof and Cleaver, Andrew from there, he pops up there sometimes, and they're doing whole hog catering to where you can call them up and have a party of 100 people, and they bring a whole hog and break it down for you and that kind of stuff.
That sounds good.
When you were in Chalmette, what were some of the places that you liked to eat when you were a kid that you had your memories?
In Chalmette, well, I'll age myself and say when I was a kid, we ate out a lot on the weekends. And we'd go to the Western Sizzler.
Mm-hmm.
That was that dude. Let me tell you, that place.
I went to the one on Vets. They used to have one on Vets where
that place used to put out some steaks. I don't know. It was a chain, but it was a very small one. I don't know where it was out of. But they did it right.
When you walked through the door, the smell, you smelled the buttered toasted bread,
and you went through it like a cafeteria.
Yeah,
you went
like a tray,
the tray like a cafeteria tray with the rail. You got your salad and your dessert. And no, you just got a salad. Your salad and your drink. You ordered.
Right.
You sit down, and then they'd have this window where a woman would grab. There was a microphone, one of those little microphones, like on off, little press thing, and say table 162 or Frank or a name.
Right.
We'd raise our hands, and here they come with sizzling plates of steak and a baked potato.
Where was that at?
It was where the Eye Center is on Palmetto. Right by the old skating rink.
Right.
There's an Eye Center.
Yeah.
That was the Westin Sizzlin. Westin Sizzlin. That's what it was. I would eat there.
I remember now.
We'd eat there.
Right off of Judge Perez.
Right.
Yep.
We'd eat there. We'd eat at Anthony's Pier, which was, that's a long time ago.
Yep. I remember
Anthony's Pier. Since we lived in Araby, when we went out on the weekends, we'd eat La Pinto's, which was on the corner of, I guess you want to say, we call that St. Bernard Highway. Once you cross in, you're on St. Bernard Highway.
Yeah.
St. Bernard Highway in Friscoville. And then attached to it was a place called Shang He. That was a Chinese restaurant, owned by the same people, just had a Chinese chef. And I was a picky eater when I was a kid, so sometimes I'd go to La Pinto's and I'd want pork fried rice, and they'd go across and get the pork fried rice and come back. Or if I ate over at La Pinto's, I ate at Shang He, I'd want a hamburger. So they'd go next door to La Pinto's and get me a hamburger. But those places stick out because we went so often. But we all went to Fitzgerald's on special occasions out on the lake. We went to, where else? A place, I don't remember what it was for. It was for a birthday party or something. But we went to a place, it was like 14 of us, 2 families, to a place in the French Quarter called Anything Goes.
I remember that place. Had the best commercials.
And it was, come to find out, the wait staff were drama students from UNO. And when I tell you theatrical, that experience, and the place was like you'd eat in the back of a Volkswagen, or this table was
jail
like,
cell.
Yeah, this table was like slanted, but on this side it had things to hold your cup this way, and on the other side it was weird. And I had shark. I was probably single digits, 8, 9. I had shark because my mom said, "You want some fish?" And I said, "Sure." And I got shark.
Shark.
Yeah.
Had Anything Goes. It's pretty appropriate, right?
Yeah, it was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember my first real taste of barbecue was at Luther's growing up in St. Bernard, and that I remember that smell. I remember the chicken. I remember watching the guy cut the meat, and that kind of gave me a passion to bring this home. And I got a little bitty Kettle Weber, about 12 inches in diameter. It had the little lid, and I did my first 6-pound
one step up from a little buddy.
Yeah, I didn't even put a rub on it. I put salt and pepper and smoked it over apple chips and some coals. Toughest piece of meat I probably ever had in my life. I didn't know when it was done. I was like, damn, this thing's been cooking for 8 hours now. It's got to be done, right? No, I didn't know about foiling or anything, so it steamed through. But Luther's was one of the onion loaf. You know, they would have the hot barbecue sauce, and you could get the bread and the onions and stuff like that.
And a schooner of beer when you were 16.
No ID, check, no problem in the parish.
That's cool because Luther's left after Katrina, so I'll throw him under the bus now.
Yeah, now it's a IHOP or
I don't know what it is.
Something like that. Yes, St. Bernard hasn't been the same since Katrina. It needs help. It needs support. It needs people to go out there and shop at Walmart and
eat at Rockies.
Eat at Rockies. They're still there.
Can you imagine that? We've been through, how long have we been on? And we're talking about St. Bernard restaurants and just getting around to Rockies? Just now getting to Rockies. Yeah, Rockies is a tradition. It ain't the best place in the world, but it ain't the worst either. And you're gonna leave full. And I remember my senior class party in that side room there, and it's just memories. The Sicilian room.
The Sicilian room. There you go.
It's for special guests and VIPs.
It's just memories, man. I love it, and that's why we're doing this podcast, New Orleans Food, and trying to bring up some of those memories. Hopefully, we brought up some memories for y'all. Tell them where you're going to be, Mr. Bernie.
I will be at 45 Chop tonight, which is Tuesday the 18th. 18th, 19th. What's today?
Yeah, we're going to be putting this out as soon as we can.
Right, this is the 18th, so I'll be at 45 Chop tonight at around 7. Also be on Aretha Castle Haley, there's a food truck roundup. Look on Facebook for NOLA needs more food trucks, or New Orleans needs more food trucks. Mm-hmm. They post when they're going to have the Aretha Castle Haley. They're trying to make it a weekly thing, but they need to get some support and some people out there to support these food trucks. There's usually 3 or 4, and there's always a couple of surprises. Like me, I'll show up not every Tuesday because I'm at 45 Chop. The big news that I want to let you know that I think I just...
That's my drum roll.
Thank you. I just was informed last week. We went to the meeting, and Mamita's Hot Tamales will be at Gretna Fest this year. That's October 5th, 6th, and 7th. We're going to have the cart there. I'm imagining, I haven't gotten the details yet, but I'm almost positive that we'll have the cart out there. We'll definitely have a sign with a 10x10 tent that'll have our name so you can see us. We're almost certain that we're going to be across from the courthouse by a small stage between the courthouse and the parking garage in a little sliver on, I think it's 2nd Street. So if you guys are at Gretna Fest, I know a lot of people go every year. Last year they said they had over 160,000 people show up.
They usually have some really great...
Right, they have great bands. It's like, I think it's $20 to get in, but you're going to see bands from your childhood, bands that your parents love, bands that you probably like.
Right, and all the food and cultural thing, you know. A lot of people stay on in New Orleans and don't give love to the West Bank, and we're all NOLA. It's all NOLA love, and sometimes you need to cross that river. I cross it to get pork bellies from Hong Kong market, and it feels a little weird, but it's not a bad thing. They're nice people over here. It's okay.
Yeah, and Gretna Fest has a lot of history. Well, Gretna Fest is only 18 years old, but Gretna, the city, has a ton of history that, you know, just like Algiers, just like some other places that have a ton of history. Go out there and support them and have some food. They have tons of food, tons of alcoholic beverages and refreshments for the kids and rides, and it's a day that you can spend with your family and really.
And it seems like it's going to be getting a little cooler too.
Exactly.
So it's one of those festivals that it's not going to melt you while you're out there like some of them during the summer.
Yeah, bring your family out and say hello to mine, because I'm sure my whole family will be behind the booth. They better be.
And this is some of the best hot tamales that I've ever put in my mouth. They're about twice the size of Manuel's used to be, not to bring up any old things, but that's just my personal opinion. I wouldn't sell them at NOLA Smokehouse unless I thought they were top-notch and had premium ingredients and tasted like fire. And that's what this man brings. He's bringing y'all a little bit of his heart. So let's support another small business out there, NOLA. And till next time, stay hungry, NOLA.